The Panama Canal, along with the Suez Canal, is arguably the world's most famous and essential waterway. By cutting across a slim stretch of Central America, it allows ships, particularly those travelling from Europe and the Atlantic, to reach the Pacific Ocean quickly. Without it, vessels would face a journey of weeks, or even months, sailing south through the treacherous, infamously stormy Strait of Magellan, which is located just above Chile. More than 10,000 ships use the canal annually, paying tolls that can reach $500,000 for the largest vessels. However, in recent years, this vital infrastructure has begun to show some strain. Global trade is busier than ever, causing queues of ships to form outside the entrance, waiting for slots to pass. The more critical limitation is size. Biggest ships that can currently use the canal, sometimes called Panamax vessels, are limited to about 50 meters wide. This excludes the modern giants of shipping, such as the massive Arena class vessels, which can exceed 60 meters in width. This capacity crisis is exactly what fuels Nicaragua's ambition to offer an alternative, a much larger and more capable canal. The concept of a Nicaraguan waterway is not new. It's a project over 5 centuries in the making. Back in the 1500s, when Spain controlled the wealth of the Americas, they needed a safe, reliable way to transport silver and gold back to Europe. Fearing the treacherous Strait of Magellan, they instead set up an overland convoy system. Ships from the Pacific unloaded goods, which were then transported by a train of mules and donkeys across the land, to be picked up by a second fleet on the Atlantic side. As early as 1551, Spain conducted surveys for an interoceanic canal, identifying both Panama and Nicaragua as possible routes. Ultimately, they stuck with the mule convoys, believing a canal would be far too expensive to build. The dream was revived in the 19th century. After the colonies won their independence, the newly formed Federal Republic of Central America saw a canal as their path to becoming a rich and relevant superpower. Their proposed routes would have followed the San Juan River, which would be widened and redirected, leading to a cross-country passage through the vast Lake Nicaragua and out to the Pacific Ocean. The US was initially tempted, but turned the project down. They were unconvinced that the young republic was stable enough to work with, and they were right. A civil war broke out soon after, and the republic began to fracture. When the newly independent Nicaragua approached the US again, America was far more keen, especially as easier access to Europe was a major priority for the West Coast. By the end of the 19th century, the US had estimated the Nicaraguan route could be built for around $140 million, about $5 billion today. However, the US was also in talks with France, which had failed miserably at building a canal in Panama. France offered to sell all of their preliminary work and equipment to the US for $40 million. The decision was tough: a cheaper, better route in Nicaragua or buying a failed project in Panama. Well, the tide turned when the French, desperate to sell, launched a negative publicity campaign against Nicaragua, funding news stories and printing pamphlets about recent volcano eruption at Mount Momotombo, located near the proposed route. The thought of a volcano made Congress nervous, and in 1902 they voted to build the Panama Canal instead. The Panama Canal opened in 1914, but even after this, the Nicaraguan idea was never truly gone. In the 1960s, it re-emerged in an utterly bizarre Operation Plowshare, a US project that actually proposed using nuclear bombs to dig the canal. For obvious reasons, this idea never took off. The most recent and most dramatic attempt came in 2012, led by Wang Ying, a Chinese businessman with a mysterious background. His company, the Hong Kong Nicaragua Development Group, signed a deal to construct the massive waterway. The new proposal involved a 278-kilometer long route costing $50 billion that would be significantly deeper and wider than the Panama Canal, allowing it to accommodate the planet's largest ships. Nicaragua saw this as a historic opportunity to double its GDP, but the project was plagued by problems from the start. Wang Ying had no background in such construction, and many experts speculated that he was simply a front for the Chinese government. Locally, the project was met with huge protests over the loss of livelihood and homes, as well as severe environmental risks. Specifically, activists worried about the contamination to Lake Nicaragua, the country's largest freshwater source, and the damage to the rainforest habitats for endangered species like jaguars and tapirs. Despite an initial construction ceremony in 2014, the project was effectively dead a year later. Wang Ying lost about $9 billion in a massive crash in the Chinese stock market. The funding dried up and no further progress was made. By 2018, Ying's officers were abandoned, and so was the idea. In 2024, Nicaragua officially cut ties with Wang Ying and his company, yet even this failure did not end the dream. Almost immediately, the government announced the formation of a new group, the Grand Canal Authority. For 5 centuries, the vision of a Nicaraguan canal has survived empires, civil wars, volcanoes, and financial collapse. Whether they can finally find a way to complete this massive undertaking remains to be seen. So after 500 years of concept and several attempts at action, there is still a small chance that this canal still may be built. Let me know in the comment section below if you think this is going to be a feasible design and if you would welcome a brand new canal in Central America.